This is coming from Hollow Tide. It's got 17,900 subscribers. It says, why most extraction shooters fail. Let's watch this. All the links are in the description down below for the videos we watch, for the news articles we cover. If you guys want to go to their channels, click on the link, give it a like, give it a follow, give it a sub. So let's watch this.
Actually die because they're bad games. They die because they... You know what's funny? Most extraction shooters don't actually die because they're bad games. They die because they slowly, quietly push away the exact people they need to survive.
Right off the bat, he's correct. Right off the bat, he's correct, right? Look at Battlefield right now, right? We're not even talking about an extraction. We're talking about Battlefield. Why is Battlefield's numbers cratering? Is because they're slowly pushing away, well, in their case, very fastly pushing away the people that actually wanted to play their game.
And the wild part is we've watched this happen over and over and over and over again. So when people ask me in the comments, will Marathon survive? Or when they say Marathon is dead on arrival, or that the extraction...
You're always going to get the people that are, black or white. This game's dead. This game, whatever. Most of us say it in a jokingly manner, because especially of Concord and stuff that's out now. I've said that I think this game hits 150,000 concurrent on Steam. I think it does pretty well because, again, Marvel Rivals did well because there was a world before it, right? Fans of the comics, fans of the movies, fans of the shows, fans of the games. So when Marvel makes the exact same game as Overwatch, you're like, oh, this is dead on arrival, like Concord, but obviously it's not. It wasn't dead on arrival, because it had a fan base that was there for Marvel. There's people that are a fan base of Bungie. Doesn't matter what Bungie does. Bungie has its fan. So when Bungie comes out, okay, they're going to have their fans that buy the game. And supposedly right now on Steam and stuff, it's a high on the top charts, hit the top 5 or whatever, okay? There's people that don't even like the PvP aspect of it. And they're like, I like Bungie, and they're going to purchase that game. And ironically, if you pre-ordered Marathon, there was a bug going on where it would download Destiny 2 for you. It would download Destiny 2 for you, even if you had it or not. I think they're fixing it now, but that's pretty funny.
Shooter genre is not popular, or it's too saturated, or whatever reason. I sit back and I think that it's not really about Bungie's talent to make the game or the budget behind it. I think it's more about
that right there would actually be a cool looking game.
Make the game or the budget behind it.
If they did a side scroller like this, a multiplayer side scroller like this, I would be interested in that, right? I would say I would be interested in that.
I think it's more about whether Marathon can dodge the same traps that have killed almost every other game in the genre. Extraction shooters are definitely a different type of game. A close friend that I have actually plays them and used the word that I thought was really applicable, and that's that they're cursed. They ask you for time and focus, emotional buy-in, and it makes me think that if they don't give it...
That's the same reason people like Battle Royales, right? Battle Royales people like because it respects their time, because they're smaller portions of the game, and based on what you do during the game, it affects like your play style, right? So if you do more searching, you're going to find more weapons, more guns, you can find the thing, you engage with people, you can, confront them, take their stuff, and so on and so forth. You have that cycle of, if I shoot someone and win, you have that endorphin kick into your head, I'm better than that person, so on and so forth.
Enough back, players don't just rage quit off the game, they stop logging in for good. And I think that's
also a problem, right? There's the one time we talk about it with Sea of Thieves, and Sea of Thieves is not even an extraction, but I make a lot of comparisons with Sea of Thieves because to me, Sea of Thieves is an extraction, right? You're a pirate trying to get treasure and you're trying to get back on your boat, which is the extraction point to get back to base, touching base before you lose all your shit. And that could be the best experience ever. You're like, man, that was so fun. We got a skeleton fort, we fought some ships, we killed a guy over there, we got back, we had millions of dollars of stuff, right? Of gold. You felt so good. But then there's a time that you have all the stuff, you sailed all across the thing, and someone was waiting for you at the port and destroyed you, and you're like, I'm never playing this game again. That is the best scenario. That's the worst case scenario, but that's the best description I can give you with any game of an extraction. Same with DZ when you play with Division. Same with Arc Raiders. You're like, I got all this stuff. I found the thing. You don't have a safe pocket. All of a sudden you're running. You're like, it's fine. You get to the extraction and someone, boom, kills you. And you're like, yeah, I'm done, right? That's what happens with these type of games.
Quit off the game. They stop logging in for good. And I think that's the real danger. Now, looking at other extraction.
But extractions are also cheaper for the most part than a full-fledged game.
In shooter communities, and I see one of the same pitfalls in almost every single one of them, and that's there's always a gap, a massive, unbridgeable gap between people who can play 40 hours a week and
that's gaming in general. A kid that goes to high school that is gone for the half the day and then comes home and they can just play video games from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock and they get 6 hours and all they have to do is stop to eat dinner, if that, okay? And then on the weekends they play all this stuff. Those are kids, right? Adults, you work 8 hours and you got stuff to do when you get home. You got to take care of your kids. You got to do stuff. So when you finally sit down and you have an hour, maybe an hour, or 2 hours. And as soon as you start turning that thing on, your wife, your husband says, hey, honey, can you do this for me? Right? You have very little time. So now your time, you need a game to respect your time. And I know people that are younger don't understand this because you're like, what does that mean, respect your time? Right? But as you get older and you start giving your time to other things in your life, because you have responsibilities as an adult, and I get it, adult life, right? When I say a game needs to respect your time, it fundamentally, when they make a game and they're looking for clientele, they need to make the game respect people's time, regardless if you're a teenager, regardless if you're a young adult, or if you're a person that's a full-grown adult with the family and stuff. They have to respect your time.
And the people who play 40 hours a month. And the extraction...
Let me rewind here for a second.
A massive, unbridgeable gap between people who can play 40 hours a
It's definitely unbridgeable.
week and the people who play 40 hours a month. And the extraction shooter genre, in my opinion, is built for that first group of people. So
Sure, 100%. It's built for the people that can no-life it.
one post on Reddit that said, I only have so much time to play video games, so I like to play ones that feel like they're rewarding
my time investment. I never feel like it. I can win. When I play an extraction shooter, I always feel like I'm going to lose. Yeah.
my time investment.
And it's not about if they are losing or not. It's the feel. I don't feel like logging in to play Sea of Thieves. I don't feel like logging in to play Tarkov because it's like I could be wasting my time.
I never feel like I can win when I play an extraction shooter. I always feel like I'm going to lose. And I think that that's that wall that casual players hit in these games. You can't just hop on for a quick...
And going into that, right? As a gamer, you're like, well, tough shit, right? You're like, sorry, old man. Sorry, whoever. But as a business, you're trying to cast a wide net, right? A fisherman throws a net out there. Well, a fisherman uses a pole, but when they throw that net out there, they're trying to catch as many fish as possible in that net when they're bringing it in, right? Some slip through the cracks, some slip through the net or whatever, okay? And they pull it in and they have a bunch of people in that net. That's the player base, right? What happens over time, okay? This is why Marvel Rivals, I said they will add a PvE, and people are like, no, they're not going to add a PvE. They're not going to add PvE. This is a PvP game. This is a PvP game. They're a PvP game. Meanwhile, they're adding PvE, and they're adding more PvE into that because when they casted the net, they thought they had their fish that they wanted, but more fish were outside of the net, and they're like, well, look, did you see all those fish we didn't capture? How do we capture those fish? Well, you use a bigger net. You throw the bigger net out there to try to get more fish. Well, Arc Raiders is doing the exact same thing, but they're doing it in a more sly pattern where people are like, no, it's a PvP VE game, but they emphasize the PvP. They're like, see, the developers said we put PvP because, yes, you are correct. As the gamer, you're like, suck it up, buttercup. PvP is PvP and PvE is PvE. But as the business, they need the widest casted net possible because it adapts over time because some people start leaving. They're like, wait a minute. We had this many people playing our game. Why did this many people leave? So they have to start adjusting. Well, a lot of people didn't leave Arc Raiders. And why is that? Because aggressive-based matchmaking, where people can be friendly in a map, okay? And they're not affecting the people that want to be PvP because PvPers are playing against PvPers. But the PvE guys are like, oh, I know how to work the system. It's respecting my time. So they start playing that game more because it's respecting their time. Marathon is going the same route. It's going to be more casual, right? They're making their characters and stuff more casual. They're trying to put a wider net out there, not trying to get the niche. They're trying to get the casuals to come into their game and play.
Session in most extraction shooters, you need to know the maps, you need to know the meta loadouts, you need to understand the economy of the game, you need to keep up with patches and wipes. Miss a week, you're behind. Miss a month, you're pretty much done. Now, Arc Raiders seems to be trying to fix a couple of aspects with their no-wipe system and safe pockets for loot. And to me, that kind of says we don't want to really disrespect the player's time investment, but Most games in this genre, they absolutely do. And that doesn't mean that Arc Raiders is getting it perfect either. So this is normally how it goes. At launch, everything's great. There's a ton of players. There's full lobbies. You've got a beautiful mix of skill levels between casuals and sweats, new players, all trying to figure out maps and the meta and everything like that. And then a few weeks
I think this is the new footage they showed, if I'm not correct.
pass, the casual players start leaving. And it's probably because they don't even hate the game. Maybe they're just tired. They die a lot. There's no feeling of improvement. Every session they have on the game starts to feel like a job to them. And once they start leaving, what happens? The player base starts to skew more towards the hardcore players.
Right, and if it skews towards the hardcore players, there's going to be a group of people that come in and start to filter into the hardcore players because they might catch the bug, right? Like my son playing Fortnite when he first started, he was dying left and right, didn't really enjoy it, but then he got his first win. Then he got his second win. Then he got his third win. Then he hit the bar again, where now he's going up against other people that also got 3-4 wins, right? Then he started beating them, and he got the bug. Right now, he's more of a very competitive person when he plays that type of game. Okay, but then there's other games he plays that he doesn't want that. He's like, I don't want to be a sweat. Like, I don't want to put the time into that. So you filter in the small people, but then it becomes this walled off garden. Okay, it comes off this walled garden that the people that try to casually come in, they can't break in. As a business, this is terrible. As a player, you're like, well, good. I want to go up against the greatest people that I'm going against to see if I'm better at the game than them, right? But as a business, we're like, well, we're losing we're bleeding out, right? We're bleeding out. We have to figure something out here. How do we get these people to come back in the game? Hence why there's a balance in it, right? Hence why Destiny was successful, because it had PvE separated, but they should have separated it more because of the gun balance and stuff like that.
Everybody knows the maps. Everyone knows the meta. Everyone is listening for your footsteps from 3 buildings away. Every single fight you get in feels like a tournament final.
How does that guy not see
3
him?
buildings
Oh, that guy's down. Okay.
away.
He's reviving
Every
him. He
single
comes in, he
fight
stabs
you get
him.
in feels like a tournament final. And then what happens when new players show up? They get absolutely obliterated and then they quit immediately. That's a spiral, and once it starts, it literally almost never reverses. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand when people talk about games are dead, this game's dead. It's really, they might have thousands of players online, but it's so hardcore that they can never...
Yeah, saying dead doesn't mean the game is dead, right? It's just a saying. It's dead. It's dead either to that person or dead to the masses, right? When you have, Starfield's dead, but it's not dead for the 1,000 people who are playing it, right? Or the 10,000 people that are playing across the thing, but it's dead to the majority of the people that were playing it originally.
Grow and have new fans start to play. I look at a game like Hunt Showdown that has been around since 2018. We're now in 2026, and that game has been around for years.
Yeah,
where most games are dying within months. And I think that game is considered a massive success. Does it have 100,000 people playing on Steam at one time? No, but the numbers that it does average is healthy in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because it's healthy because the money that they're spending on that game is less than what they're bringing in, so it's successful.
Another game that I think back to is the Cycle Frontier, which launched in June of 2022.
Oh, I remember that game.
It had solid gameplay. People actually seemed to really like it. The reviews were good, and within 3 months, it lost over 90% of its player base. And I know I just made a video on why that doesn't really matter, but stay with me. I think that means something in this context because the developers basically admitted in the shutdown announcement that they couldn't solve the population problem fast enough. There were cheaters running rampant.
Well, that's always a problem. You're going to have cheaters in this. You're going to have cheaters in Call of Duty. You have cheaters in Battlefield. You have cheaters in Arc Raiders. You're always going to get cheaters, because there's always someone trying to enjoy a game, but they suck at it. So they decided they wanted to cheat to make themselves feel better, and they don't care that they're shitting on other people's time, right? And they're like, oh, what's the big deal? And that's always going to be a thing. Always going to be a thing. But it's also not the majority of the population. But it feels like it sometimes.
Casual player base was just gone, and new players got farmed quickly by veterans. And by March 2023, they just shut down completely. That's 9 months. 9 months from...
That's better than 13 days. 9 months is better than 13 days.
From launch to closure. Again, once that spiral starts, you can't really beat it. Here's something else I found while researching this topic that honestly surprised me. There are Tarkov forums with multiple threads of grown adults who are talking about being afraid to get into a game. One person wrote, I have to amp myself up to play.
I have to amp myself up to play. I've wasted countless hours messing around in my stash and hideout playing on rating, but always find an excuse before hitting the ready button. I understand where this person's coming from, right? If you're a person, I've said this for Arc Raiders, right? Let's say you found a, I don't know, bobcat. You got a bobcat, right? You're in week 7. You're looking for your project to finish. You haven't found the blueprint. You found the blueprint of the bobcat, and now you're like, do I bring it in? I just got it. I don't want to lose it, right? I don't want to lose it, right? So there's people that have guns in their stashes in these type of games that don't want to use them, because if they use them, they might lose them because they know that they're going to go up against someone that's going to be sweatier than them, and all they want to do is just use the weapons, use the thing. Now, I know someone's going to say, well, that's the game. The game is that you're going to lose your stuff, and I get that. But from the person's point of view that doesn't have that much time to play the game, and they just got it after 7 weeks of playing the game, the amount of hours that they're playing, they're like, I don't want to lose it. So they don't bring it in. So then they're playing the game with these shittier weapons, and they're going to lose the stuff, and they get frustrated, and they just don't understand that if they use the weapon, they might have a better shot at killing that person. But at the same time, because they don't play PvP very often, they're going to get murdered super fast. So they would rather not bring in their best stuff into the thing because they know they're going to lose it, which then kind of ruins the game for them, right? It's just what it is.
I've wasted countless hours messing around in my stash and hideout, planning on raiding, but always find an excuse before hitting the ready button. Another said they had 7 guns in their stash, all the same.
There you go. 7 guns in their stash, all the same, but yet never uses them.
But they were too scared to use any of them. Just think about that. People are grinding for hours to get gear, and then they're too anxious to actually use it. That's not really...
Like, oh my God, I got the gun. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I got this gun. You gonna bring it in? No, it took me so long to get this gun. I don't want to lose it in 3 seconds.
Really, gear fear. That's the game creating so much psychological pressure that it's not even fun. When a game requires you to literally give yourself a pep talk to start playing.
Yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand the concept of it. I don't care, right? I mean, you saw me when I played Arc Raiders. I go, every time I bring an anvil in, I lose. I'm like, I'm not bringing anvils in anymore because I always lose them. Every time I find one, I'm like, I'm going to use it. So I use it and I lose, right? We don't get killed for like 3-4 matches. I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm going to bring in the anvil now. I bring in the anvil, dead. And I was like, son of a bitch, right? So now I don't bring anvils anymore. I bring another weapon.
You're gonna lose the majority of people who just want to unwind after work. Going further down that rabbit hole, let's talk about wipes for a second. Tarkov has it. It resets everyone's progress. Every few months, they start fresh, new content stuff. There's a lot of hype around it. That sounds great, right? But play...
No, it doesn't. I said what I said before Arc Raiders came out and did what they did. I stand by what I said. I said people will not reset because they don't want to waste their time. It feels like a waste of time. I played for 7 weeks, forever how many hours that is. If it's 10 hours, if it's 100 hours, if it's 3,000 hours, whatever it is, they feel like they waste their time. I was right. The people that told me I was going to be wrong because that's why people play the game is to reset. Sorry, 12.5 million people bought the game. Just over 1 million people did the reset. And I think there'll be less this time because they know it's not worth it. Hence why the company is trying to figure out what they could put in the game to get people to do the reset for the expedition.
Players have to grind hard at the start of a wipe. Like, it almost seems unhealthy the amount of hours that people are putting in.
Oh, I know, Brain. I know, Brainchild. That's why I want to use the anvil. When I bring the anvil in, I'm like, I want to use it. But then I lose it every single time. And I'm like, and every time I find one, I'm like, okay, I have it. I'm going to bring it in next time. And then I lose it again.
And because if you don't, you're going to fall behind, and falling behind it. And
let me rewind here for a second.
To grind hard at the start of a wipe. Like, it almost seems unhealthy the amount of hours that people are putting in, because if you don't, you're going to fall.
Doesn't it feel good, though, when you can put it in that time? Because it's respecting your time, right? It's two side, right? The person that's putting in the time feels like their time's being respected. The people that can't put in the time, they don't feel like their time's being respected, right? You see that? You see what I'm saying? So the people that can put the time in are like, man, this feels good. This game is respecting my time. But the people that don't have the time to put the time in, they're like, this game is not respecting my time because every time I feel like I'm doing something, I lose it.
Fall behind, and falling behind in an extraction shooter is basically a death sentence for your enjoyment. People start getting burned out, The grind becomes a chore. Players who achieve their goals.
Once it becomes a chore, that's basically you've seen The Wizard, right? That my analogy, right? Dorothy went to the Wizard of Oz. She thought it was the great, most powerful wizard. But then Toto said, oh, look behind the curtain. She pulled back the curtain. You're like, oh, you're just a regular guy. When you play a game, it doesn't matter what game it is, and you happen to see the wizard, and you're like, immersion's broke, and that's it. You might as well just move on to play a different game.
Kind of just stop playing. People get burned out trying to get this gear, and then they don't want to use it, and then they don't log in. But then they know that there's going to be a wipe happening, and these issues just kind of stack on top of each other. Now, I know everybody likes to blame having gear fear. People quit because they're scared to lose their loadout, and I don't think that's necessarily completely true to me, personally, and to other people I've talked to.
Oh, absolutely, Albany. If a person wants to play 3,000 hours, that's their business, 100%. I'm not making fun of the person that's playing 3,000 hours. What I'm saying is the people that can put the time in, they're putting the time in it because they feel like the game is respecting their time. They're like, I'm putting an hour in. I went up this much. I feel like I'm progressing, and they keep doing that thing, right? I'm playing Hightail right now. The reason I like playing Hightail is because I can visually see me progressing in the game. If it's leveling up a tier of my bench, making a new sword, finding new iron, whatever it is, making a full set, finding a new location, it's constantly giving me feed dopamine. So I can put 3,000 hours in that game and be like, it's respecting my time, right? Where if I go back to another game and I'm like, it's the same shit everywhere I go, it doesn't feel the same, right? So it doesn't matter. If you're putting that time in, it's respecting your time because you feel like it's respecting your time. But if you don't have the time to put in, and that hour that you work, 55 minutes, you're going around and that dopamine's hitting you, and then the last 5 minutes of your hour, you get ganked and destroyed and lose everything, then what was the other 55 minutes for? They're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
I think that most players are fine losing their gear as long as they understand why they lost.
In Arc Raiders, I'm okay with it. I said it when we played with Mr. Luke, right? I was like, the gear I find is not mine. I'm borrowing it, right? And if I lose it, it's no big deal. That's the way I went into Arc Raiders. I'm okay losing the gear because it's not my gear.
Problem is when you die instantly, you don't know from where, you don't know what you did wrong, you don't know what you're supposed to take from that death. You're just confused and frustrated and you've lost your gear. A quote that I saw that I think nailed this was, it's not fun to be punished for losing.
Yep.
Especially when the only reward for winning is obtaining items you will eventually lose anyway. So once you start losing and losing and losing, and there's nothing you can really learn from this, I think that people check out. And once a player feels like they're just a loot farm for some other players, I think they're gone. I think they're quitting the games. Now let's look at Marathon. And Marathon to me makes it seem like it's trying to make extraction shooters accessible. And on paper, that does sound smart, but as we've talked,
what did he say there?
and Marathon to me makes it seem like it's trying to make extraction shooters accessible. And on paper,
because the amount of money that they've thrown into this game, they have to cast the widest net possible to have the best circumstances where they make the money back, right?
that does sound smart, but as we've talked about before on this channel, a game made for everyone
is a game
made for no one. Looking at
But if the game's made for casuals, right? If the casuals, you're saying, just enough says 80-20 sounds impossible to expect a PvE lobby, right? If 80% of the people are PvEers, casual players that were, let's be honest, the majority of the people that played Destiny were PvEers. There was PvPers, and there's a sway of both, right? But let's just say it's 60-40, right? 60-40. If you had to choose 60 or 40, what player base would you rather go for? The 60 or the 40? If the 60 is the PvE and the 40 is the PvP, well, obviously the 60 is bigger than 40, so these people might spend more money than these people over here, okay? So you're like, well, the best possible thing, if it costs $300 million to make this game, and we can get the 60% over the 40%, they're going to pick 60 because they have a better shot of getting their money back, right? So this is why they're going for more casual base for their extraction, because they have a shit ton of money behind this thing. They spent a lot of money, and they have to get the widest net possible to make that money back.
Tarkov and all its ammo types, all its different stats, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't even have an in-game map. It kind of just goes against everything that regular game design and philosophy at this point has. It just goes the other way. But Tarkov survives, and I think that it's because it's so complex. I think just learning the game feels like you're almost beating the game. It's so punishing, and you're constantly put at odds that the people who stick with it are just fanatically devoted to the game.
Yeah, but that's always going to be everything. The kid that learns to play baseball more than the other eight kids on the team, you have a superstar on your team because he's infatuated with learning the game of baseball, not just hitting the bat against the ball or throwing the ball to the catcher. Right? He knows everything. When a ball gets hit in the outfield, where his position is, where he goes, where he's a cutoff man. Like they infatuate with anything and everything. Right? If you start working out, you know every aspect of every muscle inside the body and how to do it right and how to do it what's wrong. Right? There's no difference in someone playing a video game and someone infatuating and becoming the best of the best. Right?
Game. And I think maybe Bungie looked at that and said, let's do the exact opposite. And we've all heard about the player test where people from the Tarkov community were like, no, I'm not going to play this game and stuff. I don't like it. And I think that that's a sure sign that what they're doing is the
Tarkov didn't cost as much as what Marathon paid. They don't need to make as much money as Marathon.
opposite. Simple systems, lower stakes, more accessible. I believe I saw a review that said Marathon's attempt at approachability has resulted in a game that lacks depth. It's trying to be an extraction shooter for people who don't like extraction.
Well, there's another conversation we can have. That's a great quote there on the screen, right? Marathon's attempt to approachability has resulted in a game that lacks depth. It's trying to be an extraction shooter for people who don't like extraction shooters, right? You're trying to make a game. Star Wars did this. Kathleen Kennedy should be the CEO of Bungie right now. She tried to get a fan base that wasn't fans of the actual thing, okay? They're trying to get extraction shooter fans that are not extraction shooter fans because they're chasing a trend. They saw the trend. They saw the thing. They're like, let's make a game like this because it's popular. Maybe we can do it. And they're trying to do it, okay? Again, as we just said before, go out there, try it, okay? Maybe it'll change. Look at Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders, no one thought Arc Raiders was going to be as big as it is. People thought it was going to be successful, but they had no idea it was going to be as successful as it is, right? So now the extraction shooter landscape has changed. So now they're looking at Marathon, and they're not comparing it to just Tarkov and Hunt Showdown. They're comparing it to the King right now, which is maintaining for 3 months 400,000 people, right, inside the game, month after month after month, going, hey, this has got to match with that, because Arc Raiders is a casual extraction compared to all the other extractions. And now this one's competing with Arc Raiders, trying to be also a casual extraction.
And shooters. And that is worrisome because once you take away all the things that make the genre special, you really end up with something that probably doesn't appeal to anyone. Another issue is cheaters.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if this is old footage or not. We're not talking about the graphics or anything like that. We're just talking about the fundamentals of the game.
And I think that they hit extraction shooters way harder than most other games. I think of people who play Call of Duty or Halo or something like that, and you get into a lobby with some loser who is using wall hacks. You either leave the game, you're annoyed, but then you requeue and you start over. But in an extraction shooter, they waste your progress, your time, your loot, your motivation. And I think that once
it feels good in the beginning, and then it slowly nicks at you, and then it kind of just fades away. And what's the next game coming out?
Players start thinking that people are cheating, it hurts the game even more because you're constantly like, is that person cheating? I don't want to use my gear. Why bother gearing up if I'm just going to get
free loadouts, right? Why go in if I'm going to get killed? I'm just going to bring in a free loadout.
Headshot anyway by somebody using a wall hack, and then that trust is gone. And I think, really, trust is everything in this genre. Again, looking at the cycle, once the player base had dwindled down every time you were killed, you just assumed it was somebody that was cheating. But Marathon is not free to play. There is a $40...
$40, I know what he's going to say here. I know what he's going to say, because he's leading up to people that are playing with cheaters. And he's saying Marathon's going to be $40, and because it's $40, it's going to sway people from cheating. Exhibit A, Arc Raiders, $40, and cheaters are running rampant inside the thing.
Price tag to get in, so that will definitely deter cheaters. I think that that's important.
Cheaters are paying $100 for a subscription service to cheat. They're buying devices for $100. They're paying monthly fees so they can cheat. The $40 is nothing.
Because you can't just ban.
You can't put a price tag on joy, right? The people that want to shit and cheat inside these games want to shit and cheat so they can make other people feel like shit. You can't put a price tag on that for people. They're like, what is it? $200? Yeah, all right, I'll do it. Right? And then pretend they're good at the game. They're LARPers.
And cheaters fast enough. I think that players have to go in and think they have this perception that you have prevented cheating from the get-go. Because once everybody starts thinking, oh, I'm just getting headshot by a cheater, you lose people again. Now, obviously, every extraction shooter,
every PvP game is like that. Every single one. This is not a marathon problem. This is a online problem.
Is not doomed. Hunt Showdown has been running for years again. Arc Raiders, as of now, is doing incredible. Even Tarkov is successful. But there have been so many games that have sprung up and just disappeared over the years. I think that Marathon needs to figure out how it's not just going up against Tarkov or Arc Raiders. It's going up against burnout and genre fatigue. And while I do think that people are skeptical about the game,
is there genre fatigue for extractions? I don't know where people are getting the fatigue or saturation of extractions. I get there's a lot of extractions coming out, but is there an extraction for single player? Is there a fatigue for single player games? Is there fatigue for sports games? Is there fatigue for a game that comes out every single year multiple times? I just don't believe in that. I don't believe there's fatigue for any of that.
Because of Bungie and recent bad press, they're also skeptical because if they've come from the genre, they've been burned before. So many games have promised something and delivered nothing. Anthem, The Division's Dark Zone, Call of Duty's DMZ. Feels like every time a studio...
That's an industry problem. That's not a genre problem. That's an industry problem, which we talk about every single day right here, 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern, okay? Games coming out that are broke, buggy, and unfinished. That is not a extraction problem. That's not a battle royale problem. That's not a single player game problem. That is a industry-wide problem.
Says we're gonna revolutionize this genre. It ends the same way, and it's all this hype, a disappointing launch, and then a death. So while Bungie is saying Marathon is different and they're showing all these things off that makes it different, players have heard that song before. And to me, Marathon doesn't need to be perfect. I think it just needs to be fair. I think they need to be able to have players learn the systems and feel good about that. But can they pull that off? Now, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, Tarkov's been around for forever and it's fine. And yeah, you're right, sort of. I think that Tarkov has staying power because it doesn't care about being accessible. It's just so aggressively niche. And the people who love it really...
It's niche, but at the same time, here's another niche in the industry, right? Trucking sim. Trucking sims are niche, okay? If it's American Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator... But look how many simulator games come out. It's a niche, but when you put a building block down, it's one block and it's a niche. But then when you put 2 blocks and 3 blocks and 5 blocks and 10 blocks, now you have a house built of niches of there's people out there that like this one game in this genre. There's this game that people like in this genre, okay? So when you say Tarkov is a niche, it is a niche. But now there's 6 niches, 10 niches of I like this extraction, which is Marathon. I like this extraction, which is Arc Raiders. I like this one that's Showdown. I like this one that's Tarkov, right? So now the genre might be niche, but at the same time, it becomes less of a niche every time a new game comes out and it's successful and finds someone, because maybe someone doesn't like the horror genre and they wanted the more sci-fi genre, or they wanted the more fantasy genre, right? That's the thing. Hence why you look at Overwatch, you look at Marvel Rivals, people are like, Overwatch is okay, but I really like this because it's Marvel, right? It's all about what the people like. If you give me a Transformers game like Destiny, I'm going to go play the shit out of that. That got closed down, right? But I would play the shit out of it because I'm interested in Transformers.
Really love it, and it was also one of the first extraction shooters out there, so it does have that kind of bias. I think Marathon is not the same as Tarkov at all. Marathon is being made by Bungie, the studio known for Halo and Destiny. Yep. Their games have pulled in millions of...
Also, not the same people, by the way. Bungie, people that are working there now, didn't make Halo. They didn't make Halo 2, Halo 3. They didn't make Destiny 1. Maybe some people did. A lot of different people are at the studio now.
Players. They're not just aiming for the Tarkov audience because that doesn't work for their budget. That whole business model is not going to make enough money. Marathon needs to be more accessible than Tarkov. Yep. but it has to keep that same tension that makes extraction shooters feel interesting. But with all that being said, I don't think Marathon is doomed, but I also don't think the hype matters as much as people think it does.
I think this gets a leeway because Bungie is such a known brand and they make good games. A lot of people that don't follow podcasts like this, they don't know the difference. They see Bungie like, oh, Bungie made Halo. Bungie made Destiny. And they will buy this. And then the people that love Destiny, right, that love Bungie, they're going to buy this. Again, I don't think this is going to be a Concord. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It'll be popular, but I think it'll die off quick. And then if it dies off quick, Sony and Bungie announce Destiny 3 within the next 6 months. By the end of this year, I'll say more than 6 months, but within this year, they will, even though they said they're working on it, okay, they will officially say Destiny 3 is in production. And this is what they're working on. This is around for 2 years. I'll say the exact same thing I said about Marvel Rivals. Everyone's like, oh, Marvel Rivals was dead. I'm like, Marvel Rivals is here for at least 2 years. Minimum 2 to 5. This is around for 2, right? I think this is around for 2. Regardless if it gets numbers like Splitgate 2 6 months from now, this game is here for 2 years because Sony needs it to be here for 2 years. They killed Concord off so they can make this one survive.
Bungie can keep that casual player base throughout the coming months, keep that ecosystem healthy instead of just top-heavy. Marathon has a shot, but they need to solve the problems that other games in this genre have had. The time investment issue, the population spiral, burnout, perceptions of cheat.
I like to put a little stipulation to what you said there, House. You said, yeah, but they're named because Bungie makes games that are awesome. Bungie makes games that are awesome 6 years after they come out. Destiny wasn't awesome when it came out. It was awesome by the time it ended. Destiny 2 wasn't awesome when it launched. It's a much better game now than it was when it launched, okay? So yes, because you're a fan of Bungie, and I know you are a fan of Bungie, you'll defend them because you're blinded by they're just the exact same as a Call of Duty, as a Battlefield, as a BioWare, as a Assassin's Creed. The game launches. It's not in any state that it should be in when it launches, and it gets better over time. 18 months, 24 months, that's when the game gets better. But we like to close our eyes and pretend that the game is hunky-dory because you're having fun. But really, the game isn't ready for launch. It should take another 18 months to bake in the oven.
Eating, power creep, and if they can't, I don't think Marathon will fail in some dramatic shutdown announcement. I just think it'll slowly fade out, a whisper. Players will stop logging in, the game will be empty, and that's how most extraction shooters die.
That's how most of any game dies, what you just said.
On announcement, I just think it'll slowly fade out, a whisper. Players will stop logging in, the game will be empty, and that's how most extraction
Destiny 1 lost 84% of their player base, Crowded. 84% of their player base. They played the campaign and left. They didn't come back until Taken King. And after that,
shooters die. I think the question isn't whether Marathon will be good, it's whether it can keep people playing long enough to find out. That's going to do it for the video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below. Make sure you sub to the channel if you want more Marathon content. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace!
There you go. Good video. Interesting video. All right. I think Marathon, like I said, we'll see when it comes out. I think it'll be a hit with the streamers and stuff like that. And then it'll get traction because of Bungie fans. And then it'll slowly fade off because they don't do anything different.
Patch it, drop it, update